We're about to pull back the curtain on something most of us do, but very, very few of us have actually mastered: the client call. We're going to dive into some incredible insights from private sales coaching sessions and deconstruct the hidden psychology that can turn a simple phone call into a perfect trust-building experience.
Seriously, think about that. 4 seconds. That is literally all you get. Before you even get to why you're calling, your potential client has already made a judgment about you. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the science of mastering not just that critical first impression, but every single moment that follows.
All right, so it all starts right here, in those first 4 seconds. This is where your credibility is either born or dies. And it has almost nothing to do with what you say, but everything to do with how you say it.
I mean, just think about the efficiency of this. A warm, positive, and confident tonality right out of the gate tells the client 2 crucial things. 1, you're in a good mood, and 2, you actually want to be there. Getting this right saves you so much work later in the call. It is a massive, massive shortcut to building trust. But here's the advanced move. This isn't about being, a super enthusiastic golden retriever every single time. The real pros, they calibrate. So if a client calls and they're clearly in a bad mood, you actually mirror their lower tone. It shows you're taking them and their problems seriously. Then, once you connect, you can gradually bring the energy back up to a more positive, helpful place.
And this quote just nails why overdoing it is so dangerous. Think about it. A client is calling you with a serious, maybe even stressful problem. If you come in with this over-the-top, bubbly energy, you create an instant disconnect. They're just going to think, this person does not get my situation at all. Staying professional, calm, and confident, that is a much safer and way more effective place to be.
Okay, so you've nailed the tonality. Awesome. But now comes the next big challenge. The client launches into a long, winding story. Your job isn't just to listen passively, it's to actively guide them from what can feel like a rant to a clear roadmap.
This question, it seems so helpful, right? But it's actually a huge mistake. It is an open invitation for what sales coaches call a rant. The client just unloads their entire emotional story. You completely lose control of the call, and what's worse, they're left feeling frustrated because they know they're just going to have to repeat it all over again to the next person.
So the key is to replace that vague, open-ended question with something precise and guiding. Instead of, "How can I help you?" try something like this. "Okay, just so I can connect you with the right person, are you calling about a family issue, a traffic issue, or a criminal case?" And just like that, you've taken control, you've created a roadmap, and you've positioned yourself as the guide who knows the way. Now, once you've guided them to the core issue, it's time to build a really deep foundation of trust. And this isn't about schmoozing or being slick. It's about a powerful psychological technique that revolves around a recap and a little bit of assurance. This right here, this is the secret sauce. Making a person feel truly heard is the single fastest way to build rapport. When you can repeat their own emotional points back to them using their own words, something just clicks in their brain. Their defenses drop, and they think, finally, someone who actually gets me. Let's just walk through the process. It's pretty simple. First, as they're talking, you are listening for the emotional hotspots, the words they emphasize, the points where you can hear the frustration in their voice. Second, you recap those key emotional phrases verbatim. Don't paraphrase. It has to be their exact words. And then third, once they say, yes, that's exactly it, you move to the final crucial step. And that final step is assurance. After you've shown you understand them, you explicitly give them permission to relax. A simple phrase like, "Okay, you're in good hands now," provides this immense emotional relief. It's a signal that their stressful search is over and that help has finally arrived. Okay, now for the part of the call that everybody dreads, talking about the price. But the best salespeople, they don't just state a price. No, they present it as a structured, logical part of the value conversation. And they use strategic silence to their absolute advantage.
So before a single number is ever mentioned, you frame the value. You preemptively answer their biggest questions and neutralize their objections before they can even voice them, by saying things like, "Now, just so you know, this is a one-time flat fee, and there are absolutely no hidden costs." You're building this container of safety and predictability around the price itself.
Then, and only then, do you state the number. You say it clearly, you say it confidently, and you say it without any apology. Because at this point, it's not just a number, it's the solution to their problem presented within that value frame you just built. Now, listen to this because this is the genius of the strategic pause. You don't say $599 and then go silent. That just invites a debate about your fee. No, instead you say, and on top of that, there will be court fees, which of course nobody can do anything about. Then you pause. It's such a simple move, but it completely shifts their focus from your controllable fee to an uncontrollable external cost. It's brilliant.
But what if, despite doing everything right, they still object to the price? This is the moment most salespeople just panic. But it's actually a huge opportunity, but only if you have a tactical method for handling it.
And that technique is called the strategic hold. So when a client objects to the price, your gut instinct is probably to get defensive or start justifying. Instead, you're going to do the exact opposite. You calmly say, you know what, let me see what I can do for you, and you place them on a brief hold. This does three things. It calms your own reaction, it gives the client a moment to reflect on their objection, and it buys you precious seconds to think and plan your next move.
So here's the playbook. First, you place them on that strategic hold. When you come back, you don't talk about the price. You pivot. You ask a question that refocuses them on the real stakes. Like, hey, can you remind me, what's the plea-by date on your ticket? This gets them thinking about the consequences again. And then you present the solution. Maybe a payment plan, but you frame it as something special, something they now qualify for.
You have to remember, a price objection isn't a dead end. It's just a signal to shift the conversation. Your goal is to redirect them away from the cost and back to the consequences. You know, a court date, points on their license. You're reminding them why they called you in the first place. You're not just selling a service, you're solving their problem.
So the big takeaway here is pretty simple. A perfect sales call is not an accident. It has nothing to do with luck or just having a charming personality. It's a carefully crafted experience engineered at every single step to build trust and guide the client toward a solution.
So here's your checklist, your playbook. Master your tonality in the first 4 seconds. Guide the client's story with precise questions, don't just follow along. Use that verbatim recap to create instant trust. Frame the price inside a container of value. And view any objection not as a rejection, but as a strategic opportunity to regain control and close the deal.
And that really brings us to the final thought. I want you to look at your own process. Where are you just improvising? Is it the opening, the price presentation, how you handle objections? The biggest lesson from all of this is that the moments we leave to chance are precisely where we lose control. So the real question is, which of those moments are you going to decide to master?